On Sunday, the 18th of May 2025, the grandstands at Imola glowed red with Ferrari pride as thousands of fans gathered under the warm Italian sun. The air was thick with anticipation, but as Lewis Hamilton lined up in 13th place on the grid, many in the crowd had already made up their minds. They believed Hamilton, the new Ferrari hope, had lost his touch. With 12 cars ahead of him and a long, challenging 73-lap race around the historic Imola circuit, few thought anything exciting would come from the man wearing number 44. But what followed was a performance so strong, so precise, that it forced even the loudest critics into silence. By the time the checkered flag waved, Hamilton had climbed to 4th, just 1.4 seconds away from a podium. And in the aftermath, Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur had seen enough. He confronted the media and critics head-on, declaring that the talk of Hamilton's slow adaptation was finished. Hamilton's drive that day wasn't just another race. It was a message that the 7-time world champion was far from done, a message that those who had written him off too early were going to be proven wrong. The story of that Grand Prix starts with one of the most underrated charges through the field in recent memory, and ends with a warning that every rival team would be wise to remember. As the lights went out and the race began, Hamilton launched off the line with determination. His SF25 car, heavy with fuel and fitted with hard tires, surged forward. There was no room for hesitation. By the 5th lap, he had already overtaken Logan Sargent, threading his way through the Tamburello chicane with precise movements that showed complete control of the car. 8 laps later, Pierre Gasly fell to the Ferrari, followed by Alexander Albon, who lost his position after a well-timed switchback from Hamilton at the Villeneuve chicane. Then came lap 24, and with it, one of the most dramatic moments of the race. Hamilton overtook his teammate Charles Leclerc at the Variante Alta chicane. It wasn't just an overtake, it was a statement. Tire life, Hamilton proved, could beat track position. And on a circuit like Imola, known for producing processional races, passing another Ferrari on equal machinery was no easy task. Yet Hamilton made it look smooth, calculated and unforced. All this happened while he was lapping just 0.2 of a second slower than Max Verstappen, the race leader. As the race moved into its later stages, a virtual safety car gave Hamilton a chance to switch to fresher medium tires. That final stint was where the real magic happened. Every lap was consistent, every apex was clean. He closed the gap to Oscar Piastri from 7 seconds to just over 1 by the final lap. 4th place didn't feel like a rescue, it felt like a declaration of intent. After the race, reporters quickly surrounded the Ferrari garage. There was still skepticism in the air. Some said Hamilton could only perform on Sundays, and that he was still struggling to adapt to life in red. But Vasseur had heard enough. He didn't just defend Hamilton, he struck back. In a fiery moment during the team's media briefing, he called out the critics. He reminded them that every driver needs time to adapt, that Hamilton had already delivered Ferrari's only 2 trophies of the season, and that the data didn't lie. Vasseur even revealed that internal telemetry showed Hamilton's simulator work had helped Ferrari recover 0.3 of a second per lap in corner entry. Between the Chinese sprint race and Imola, that kind of progress, he argued, wasn't luck. It was the result of Hamilton's deep technical understanding and relentless effort. "Stop treating progress like luck," Vasseur said. "The data shows intent." These weren't just words, they were a public show of trust in Hamilton's process and a signal that Ferrari was fully behind their new driver. To understand the full picture, it's important to go back to qualifying on Saturday. The afternoon sun lit up the track, but Hamilton and Leclerc both failed to make it into Q3. Once again, Ferrari's main weakness reappeared, getting the tires up to temperature quickly enough. The front axle of the SF25 refuses to generate peak grip in the first few corners, and at a track like Imola with its short Q2 session, that's a serious problem. As a result, both drivers bowed out early, and the Italian media wasted no time calling it a disaster. Hamilton called it a punch to the gut. He explained that the car's weight distribution created understeer through the tricky Acqua Minerale section until the brakes reached high enough temperatures. Ferrari engineers later confirmed that the one-lap gap to Red Bull was about 3/10 and around 2/10 to McLaren, most of it coming in the slow-speed corners. It's a painful gap on Saturday, but come Sunday, Hamilton's ability to manage tyres reduces that difference significantly. "Give me a starting position and the rest follows," Hamilton said. And after what he showed on Sunday, it's hard to argue. Rewind to 4 weeks earlier, and Hamilton had already shown what he could do in the sprint race in China. Starting on soft tyres, he nailed the launch and took Ferrari's first sprint win of the season. That short race proved two important things. First, Hamilton's race starts are still world-class. His reaction times were consistently under 215 milliseconds. Second, Ferrari's race pace, once the tyres are in the right window, is strong. Hamilton left the podium that day with a smile not seen since his Mercedes glory days, calling the car finally in sync. Some dismissed that result as a one-off, but Imola confirmed the feeling. This wasn't luck. It was a sign of something real beginning to take shape. Hamilton's influence on the team goes deeper than the lap times. He has a long history of joining teams and forcing them to rethink old habits. At McLaren in 2007, he changed how they approached simulator data. At Mercedes in 2013, he asked for more flexibility in rear suspension design. Both led to world titles. At Ferrari, he's arrived with a deep catalogue of setup strategies, including asymmetric brake setups, cockpit-driven differential changes, and specific hybrid deployment patterns based on driver feel, not just computer models. At first, not everyone inside Ferrari welcomed these changes. Some of the engineers, proud of Ferrari's long history and traditional methods, were hesitant. Hamilton later described this as internal reluctance, a polite way of saying there were serious debates. But over time, compromise has started to appear. During free practice at Imola, Ferrari tested a new front-wing flap design based on Hamilton's input. It widened the steering range, where the car could stay balanced by 10 degrees. That's no small gain. It shows that Hamilton's driving style is beginning to shape the car's development. The data from the race proves it even more clearly. At Variante Alta, Hamilton carried 2 km/h more speed than before, with the same rear ride height. Into Rivazza, he braked 3 meters later than anyone else in the top 10, yet still hit the apex perfectly. On lap 56, when most drivers were struggling, he still delivered a lap time just 2/10 off Verstappen's best of the race, despite carrying 5 more kilograms of fuel. Ferrari later calculated that the virtual safety car had cost Hamilton just over 5 seconds. Without it, he would have finished third, maybe even second. And now, the development is about to accelerate even further. After the race, Vasseur kept his public comments calm, saying Ferrari was still focused on step-by-step progress, but behind the scenes, the team is preparing for a big push. In 5 weeks at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, Ferrari will introduce their first major weight reduction package of the season. It includes a redesigned gearbox housing that will shave 2 kilograms and new floor strakes that improve airflow around the rear tires. These changes could bring about 0.3 of a second per lap on low-drag tracks. Hamilton himself pushed for both upgrades. The car will also get a special qualifying mode with suspension changes to help heat the front tires faster, directly, addressing the very issue that's been ruining their Saturdays. In short, Ferrari is building around Hamilton's style and doing it fast. And it doesn't stop there. The upgrades planned for later this season are specifically tailored to the demands Hamilton has made based on his vast experience. Ferrari is no longer